Hello and welcome once again to Murphing the Movies. I am SwimMurph and with me as always is my brother... Now Tennis, I know that you can interrupt other people's videos without saying your catchphrase. Maybe you could just start the video? Say hello, Tennis. Hello, Tennis! Hey, where do I fucking bother? Anyway, and we are here today to do a review of the movie Beautiful Creatures from 2013. But before we do that, we should do the sponsorship announcement. All Murphiverse programming is brought to you by Home for the Elderly. They sell laserdiscs, they sell HD DVDs, and they sell CDs. And if you put in the code MURPH, you get 20% off of your order. So, yes, do that. Home for the Elderly, the kings of laserdiscs. So that is the sponsorship announcement. And now I'm going to hand you over to Tennis so he can do the review. Beautiful Creatures came out in 2013. It was written for screen and directed by Richard Lagravenese. And I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly, but it is, I think, a French name. I don't speak French. In fact, for regular viewers of this, I just learned to speak English a couple of years ago, so, yes. The film is based on a series of books by Kemi Garcia and Margaret Stoll, known as the Castor Chronicles. The film is set in the fictional southern town of Gatland, South Carolina. It's sort of set up as one of those towns where nothing ever really happens. Like a lot of towns in the American South, it's sort of depicted as being very sort of backwards and highly religious and just generally not a progressive place, which may or may not be accurate. I don't know. I've not been there. Well, I can't go to Gatland. It doesn't exist. I looked it up. Now, Wikipedia lists the film as a romantic gothic fantasy film. I'm not sure if that's really an accurate description. I've also seen it called a thriller. It's an odd film to sort of put into a specific category. There's certainly a lot of supernatural elements and fantasy elements, but it also feels more nightmarish and a bit more leaning into horror at times. At the same time, it is based on a young adult's novel, so it also has that sort of vibe to it as well. The film focuses around a boy called Ethan. He's starting at a new school, and there's also another girl that's starting that day called Lena. And Lena has a striking resemblance to a girl he's been seeing in his dreams. It turns out that Lena is connected to the Ravenwood family, a family that is all generally considered by the very backwards religious folk of the town as being devil worshippers. The film at the time did get some rather unfavourable comparisons to the Twilight series, and perhaps I can kind of see a little bit of that in there. I would probably link it closer to something like Carrie, where you've got a girl with, sort of powers. They're generally not considered witches in this. They're called casters. But basically, for layman's terms, they would be what would be known as witches. As you might expect from this sort of film, Ethan and Lena fall in love, but this is forbidden because of the whole thing where that her family are supposed to be devil worshippers, where they aren't really. They're casters, and his family have connections where that it's complicated. Now, one of the things going on in Gatland is the reenactment of the Battle of Honey Hill. The town is quite obsessed with the Civil War, which is rather unfortunate, really, because they are a southern state and therefore on the losing side. In fact, Ethan comments at the start of the film that they keep reenacting it as if they were going to change the result. I'm not going to go too deep into the film's plot, just because, well, I don't want to spoil it for you, and you can watch it for free here on YouTube, so yes. Whereas a lot of films don't really have that much lore and backstory, this one, it does go back right through to the Civil War, and there's all these sort of connections between the two families, and yes, it gets very complicated, but complicated in a good way, and it's a very enjoyable film. So basically there's a curse between the two families, where if someone from the one family goes with someone from the other family, bad, cursey things will happen. And it's up to Lena and Ethan, well, mostly Lena, really, because, well, she's the caster, so she's the one that can do the magic-y stuff. It is, in a way, kind of formulaic, and, there are other films that do similar things, but I'd say that it's unique enough in its combination of things that it's sort of taken from all kinds of different from different sources. It's also just a really well-made film, really well shot. It really just does look beautiful on screen, and yes, it's just really well made and well put together. Now, the book series was a series, but the film, they only made the one. They had plans to make the whole series, but, well, this one, it is considered a box office bomb. It did make a tiny profit, but yes, not enough for them to invest in making another film. The budget for the film was estimated between $50 and $60 million, and it made 60.1. So yes, I guess 0.1 of $1 million isn't, well, it wasn't going to cover the making of another film. Although really, some of that budget they could probably reuse a lot of the same sets. They don't need to build them again because they've already got them. But and probably even some of the same costumes. They could have saved money and maybe have worked something out. But yes, the film did get both negative and positive reviews. Probably more leaning towards negative, and I really don't know why. Yes, it's certainly not the most original story, as I said earlier, but at the same time, it's just a really well done version of that kind of story, and it certainly doesn't deserve to be written off as a Twilight ripoff, because it's not really anything like Twilight. Although the actors, the two lead actors, do bear perhaps passing resemblances to a few of the actors that were in those films, and I guess there's the magical element of both, but this really is its own film. There's also a lot of humor in it, and I just think that it's a really good, very warm film. It has a lot of heart to it. I'd say that one of the biggest takeaways I have from it is that it kind of feels like a film out of its time. Although obviously it has the modern special effects of 2013, I'd say that it probably feels more like a film you might have got maybe in the 50s or something like that, where that it is a bit more that kind of odd romantic fantasy. That there's just something very old style of Hollywood about it, in the way that it's put together and the way that it looks. The film is set in the Deep South, and some of the actors do sort of struggle with the accent a little bit. I don't think I can really put that on them, though, because when you've got Emma Thompson and Jeremy Irons, and even they don't get the accent right all the time, and maybe it's just more on the director that decided not to go for another take. And yes, I think maybe that he's done a disservice to them, especially to the actress that plays Lena, Alice Englert. I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly, because otherwise she does a great job. But occasionally she's Australian, and her Australian accent does cut through every now and then, and it can be a bit jarring and take you a little bit out of the what's happening on screen. Interestingly, she is the daughter of director Jane Campion, who makes films that are... what's the best way of putting it? Critics like them, they win awards. But personally, I wouldn't want to sit through one. I have, and regretted it deeply. But yeah, otherwise, the acting is great. The lead is Alden. I am not even going to try and pronounce his surname. We'll write it on the screen somewhere. It is a shame that they didn't keep making these films, because the whole world of it is very... it really drags you in. And when I was watching it the other night, I'd watched it before, but I was re-watching it to do the review. And I'd say that it was... it's just because there is so much lore, and it really does, like I say, it really drags you in. It would have been nice to see more of it. But at the same time, the film does finish in a way where it almost doesn't really need it. But it would have been cool if they continued them. I think most of the cast is still alive, so maybe they could continue it in some way, maybe as a TV series or whatever, but it just looks like the interest isn't there. One of the things that really helps the film is its soundtrack, which is where we got to talking about this in the first place when I interrupted the Murfer's other video. So I'm going to bring the Murfer on to talk about the music. So over to you, the Murfer! Thank you, Tennis, for graciously allowing me to appear on your video after you interrupted mine. Yes, the music for the film was done by the new number 2, which we talked about in my previous video, or 2 videos ago. So yes, you may be seeing this before my actual most recent video, if there's a copyright issue. But yes, so you may see this before my next video, or maybe my previous video. It gets confusing, but the video we're talking about here in particular is the bands that didn't quite make it, where we talked about the new number 2. So the new number 2 had various different lineups over the years, but the main writers of the music for this film were Danny Harrison, Paul Hicks, and Jonathan Sadoff. He mostly did the orchestral arrangements. The director of the film referred to the sound that they made with the soundtrack as Swamptronica, which I guess is accurate because and it fits the film very well because it is swampy, and but it's also kind of modern. Perhaps if they took out the electronic elements, it almost could have felt like, as Tennis was saying, it was filmed from another time. Maybe not the 50s. I probably would have said more 70s. But he's the film guy. What would I know? And yes, it combines the sounds of sort of lush orchestrations with more sort of the music you'd expect to hear in the southern states of America. So sort of elements of blues and country and bluegrass, combined with more modern electronic sounds. So yes, according to Wikipedia, and I don't know if I could verify this anywhere else, apparently Danny Harrison used some of his father George's guitars on the record. One other thing we can say is Paul Hicks's father, Tony Hicks from the Hollies, actually plays banjo on a couple of songs. This really is one of those films where the music just sort of takes it to that next level. The film is great on its own, but I think the music really, at some point, almost feels like it's another character in the film. It just sort of, or at least part of the scenery, it really just sort of helps set the tone so well. So yes, I don't have the actual album of the soundtrack, but based on the music in the movie, I would give it 4 out of 4 opposable thumbs up.
Spiritual lake, visions in the waves, watching them pray. A spiritual lake, visions of the waves, watch the light change, watch them as they pray. It's never too late. It's never too late. It's never too late to throw it all away. It's never too late, never too late, never. It's never too late, never too late, never. It's never too late, never too late to throw it all away.
Thank you for that, Murfer. And yes, now back to the movie itself. I personally really like this film. If you haven't seen it, I recommend seeing it. If you have seen it and you liked it, then you already know what I'm talking about. If you have seen it and you didn't like it, I would recommend giving it a second chance. But we're going to give this one... Oh, who turned out the lights? What? Hey! A light! Oh, a light. You are the lightest thing in my life, and I love you. Oh, yeah. I knew I shouldn't have let Coach do the Murph burps, but here we are. So, yes, anyway, that's our video for this week. We'll be back with something else next week. We haven't decided what yet. It may be the Murphers next video, if that wasn't last week. So, yes, you can thank the copyright bots for that confusion. But, yes, that's all we've got for you this week. Don't forget we do have a website. Don't forget Home for the LD Lee. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and all those lovely things. And, hello, Tennis! Yes, thank you for watching the Murphing the Movies show, and yes.
We all know the Duquesne history. In the last year, Lena Duquesne has been in 3 different schools in 3 different towns, and in every one of them schools they had accidents, even deaths.
Is that her?
I'm not afraid of you or your evil kind.
I like you.
You don't know anything about me. I don't know who I really am inside. I don't know what I'll be.
Our words, our language can't explain all that there is.
My powers will be claimed free to the light of the dark. I have 75 days left.
If she goes dark, will you shut her out too? You think Lena's a good girl now, but it won't matter.
You want to be like a normal human? What do you think that is?
I don't believe that we have one fate and no choice. We make our own lives.
Just hate hiding all the time. Feeling like everybody's whispering about me.
Is that her? My mama says her whole family are Satanists.
I like you.
You don't know anything about me.
My family's different.
You a witch.
We prefer the term caster. When I turn 16, my powers will be claimed free to the light or the dark.
You think you can keep Lena so good, so innocent? Wasn't I the same before I was claimed? And look at what I am now.
I don't know what I'll be. I have 75 days left, Ethan.
Seraphine,
The curse has already begun.
Lena will not turn dark. She's too strong.
She's gonna be more powerful than either of us.
She will lead us all.
Toward what?
Mortals have run things for long enough. Lena will put an end to them.
Seraphine is the most powerful dark caster of all.
So I'm gonna be claimed for the dark no matter what.
No, you control your own nature. And loving this boy puts you in terrible danger. You'll get the both of you killed.
There's got to be a way.
Get out! Help stop Seraphine.
Some things cannot be stopped.
It has begun.
She's already closer to the dark than I was.
I want you out of here. There's darkness in you. Don't you try and deny it. Accept it, sweetheart. Be with me. We can rule over a new world. Our world.